How to tell if your dog is deaf or going deaf. And you just don't want to pay to have the vet test for it. Number 1, know your breeds. There are a lot of breeds, like a Dalmatian, that are prone to deafness. Think Australian cattle dogs, Australian shepherds, boxers, a lot of terriers are prone to deafness, Great Danes, a lot of breeds that are predominantly white. And look, if you've always kind of said, hey, my dog just isn't the brightest, why do you think that? They could just be deaf. Deaf dogs are really intelligent. They have a heightened sense of smell and a heightened sense of feeling and touch. And what I mean by that is when I get home from work, my dog does not hear me getting home. He smells me getting home and he gets up. He wakes up when he smells me. He knows maybe the smell of my car and he is there. But most deaf dogs will take around 30 seconds for you to get home, and that's a good way to tell if they might be deaf, because dogs can hear you getting home and get up before you're even in the door. If your dog is not up before you're in the door, could be deaf. And if we're walking through the house, he can feel the vibration of our footsteps. It's actually a way that I use to call him, just stomping on the floor. When I lived in a small apartment in New York, he could feel that from anywhere in the house and would come. Is he a good boy? Yes. Yes, he is. And if you train them really well, they can tell your emotions more with your face. And he's constantly looking at my face and checking in with me. I also try to get his attention by just rubbing him. I mean, he knows I'm right here, so. I do find deaf dogs to be very, very mouthy and chewy and bitey, which is also breed related, because I work with a lot of Dalmatians and cattle dogs, but I do find the Duffys to be more mouthy. Good way to test if they're deaf is snap. And another big, really important thing to note, never wake a deaf dog by touching them, but a good way to tell if they're deaf is if they are asleep and you're making a lot of noise or you're shouting or calling their name and they're not waking up. They go clap close to them, but keep in mind if you're too close, they'll feel the vibration of the clap or the wind from the clap and they will wake up. It takes some practice, like 1 to 2 feet away. Those are just the basics to test, and if I'm in a shelter or something and looking for that, those are just some of the things I'll do really quickly, like snapping and clapping behind them when they're not looking. And they could also be just hearing impaired and they can still hear you. But if you think they might be deaf, just go into the vet and they'll tell you. And I'll do a quick breakdown of how to train and work a deaf dog as well. I mean, my dog has done movies, TV shows, and being deaf is actually a pro. And I work with a lot of people in the industry. They have deaf cats. They're much better on production and much better to work with. My dog is 10. He had a really rough life. He had 4 homes before me. They didn't know he was deaf. But with training, they fully adjust, whether they're young or old. Because dogs